Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be playing the role of Mythbusters. That's right. Even though I don't have the facial hair anymore, we are going to be taking on the roles of Jamie and Adam Savage here, and we are going to be busting some myths and some misconceptions when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs this offseason. And if you guys are feeling generous with the likes, well, you won't find me complaining about that. And also, if you're new here to the channel or you've watched a couple of these videos already, please do consider subscribing because we are very close to 1,700 and we've been on an absolute tear lately. They do not need to make as many upgrades on defense as a lot of people think they do. Because I have done several videos on this channel now and I have suggested a plethora of different defensemen, multiple, like a dozen or so. And if it's not a guy named Colton Parayko, Aaron Ekblad, Alex Pietrangelo, or someone similar to that stature, people accuse me of dumpster diving. You want to talk about dumpster diving? Let's take a look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are currently up 2-1 in their series against the Islanders in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. Let's take a look at the right side of their defensive core. Eric Cernak, a legitimate defenseman there. Kevin Shattenkirk was bought out by the New York Rangers last season. Zach Bogosian had his contract terminated by the Buffalo Sabres. Jan Rutta cleared waivers in December of 2018. And that's former Toronto Maple Leaf Luke friggin' Schenn there. But to be fair to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the left side of their defense consists of Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonagh, and Mikhail Sergachev. The Toronto Maple Leafs don't have a Victor Hedman, but you know who also doesn't have a Victor Hedman? 29 of the other NHL teams. All right, here's a little bit of logic for you. The Toronto Maple Leafs collectively as a team are bad defensively, but just because the team overall is bad defensively, it doesn't mean that all of their players or all of their defensemen are bad. The narrative surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs and that they suck at defense, I think, is causing people to really undervalue Jake Muzzin and Morgan Reilly here in Toronto. These are the expected goals above replacement leaders in the NHL over the last 2 seasons on evolvinghockey.com or Evolving Wild on Twitter. Jake Muzzin being ranked 7th here and Morgan Reilly being ranked 9th over the last 2 seasons. I don't necessarily know if I would rank them as top 10 defensemen over the last 2 years, but maybe there's a couple of things at play with that. Maybe that's me and you not keeping up with the times or being a little bit biased or not willing to give our guys enough credit, or maybe that's a little bit of a bias on the stat itself. Maybe the stat is imperfect, but are they top 15? Are they top 20? They're certainly both in the top 30. Because what's the identity of this team? A lot of people are saying it can't just be skill and speed and offensive talent because that doesn't win come playoff time. Well, if I'm thinking about the identity of this team, I think that that's always a work in progress. But when I think about Morgan Reilly as a player and the rest of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the style that they would like to play game in and game out, I think that those two things are a match made in heaven. And when you're looking at the 1920 season and you're looking at how Morgan Reilly struggled, it's kind of obvious as to why the team struggled. Because let's just be honest about what Morgan Reilly is. He's not the greatest in terms of defense, but when it comes to being an offensive defenseman and a defenseman that works in transition from defense to offense, he was one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL at doing that in the 18-19 season. He quarterbacked the top power play unit for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 18-19 season, and he ranked 3rd in terms of defensemen and overall points, but he was 1st in the league in terms of even strength points. One of the best defensemen in transition and one of the best offensive defensemen from the year previously admitted to playing hurt all season long, and then once he finally started to feel more like himself, he broke his foot in a game against the Florida Panthers. So if you watched the Toronto Maple Leafs this past season and it seemed like they were struggling to produce offense at times, it's because they were without one of the best guys in transition in the entire league the previous year. And if you're looking at this armchair GM that I whipped up for next season and you're comparing the Leafs to the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I did earlier in the video, the Tampa Bay Lightning added a lot of grit and toughness to their lineup in Patrick Maroon, Barclay Goodrow, and Blake Coleman. There's not a whole lot of grit here, but we will address that in a future video. Let's just use this as the base model and let's build from here. So let's look at this decor for what it is. Morgan Reilly, Jake Muzzin, absolutely amazing. We've already discussed that. So let's talk about some things that I would like to see happen and things that I would not like to see happen when it comes to this defensive core this offseason. Number 1, I would like a competent D partner for Morgan Reilly finally once in his career. Ron Hainsey was fine, but he was a dinosaur by the time he got to him, and everyone else sucked. I keep saying that the Toronto Maple Leafs should sign a guy like Dylan DeMello. No, I'm no longer saying that. Just sign friggin' Dylan DeMello. Mikko Lehtonen, the second he signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, all the hype with him just instantly died and no one wanted to give him credit anymore. That guy was touted as the best defenseman playing professional hockey not in the NHL, and he is now on the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you want a little bit of a scouting report on the guy, he is a two-way defenseman, but he definitely does lean more towards the offense than the defense. He shoots left-handed, but he did play an entire season on his right side over in the KHL just 2 years ago, so he is comfortable playing either side. Those are his words, not mine. When you watch him take shots from the point, I think you're going to be very happy with him after watching Tyson Barrie all last season. Because he doesn't have the hardest shot, he doesn't have the best shot, but it's a very smart shot, and he's very good at getting it through screens and picking corners. We talked about the second power play unit for the Toronto Maple Leafs really sucking over the last couple of seasons. I think Mikko Lehtonen really helps that. That's another thing. Give power play 1 back to Morgan Reilly and never take it away ever again. Justin Holl showed that he is an NHL defenseman. He is a top 6 defenseman in the NHL, but he is not a top 4 defenseman. And that was clearly shown once Jake Muzzin got injured. He was exposed out there and he really didn't know what to do. But as a bottom pairing defenseman who eats up a lot of minutes on the penalty kill, is a bigger guy, can transition the puck a little bit and shoots right-handed, I still think that he has value. Travis Dermott developed a little bit of a game on the penalty kill last season, which was nice to see, but it's clear that he's not ready for top 4 minutes when it comes to 5-on-5 play. It just seems to be something up here with his decision making, and that's fine. He still is going to be 24 this December. Defensemen take a while to mature. I mean, if you want to take a look at the other team currently in the Eastern Conference Finals, Devon Toews, 26 years old this season and just starting to figure things out in the NHL. Ryan Pulock, 25 years old for the New York Islanders here, and he's been good for a couple of seasons, but he's really put it together, and people are starting to notice that this season. Travis Dermott turning 24 in December. Be patient with the guy. I'm preaching patience because I really don't want another Alexander Steen or Anton Stroman or Tuukka Rask or Carlo Koliakoval trade to take place. I mean, Koliakoval and Steen were in the same deal, and you could talk all you want about Carlo Koliakoval being injury prone, but he went on to play 359 more games in the NHL after that trade and had 124 points. You're not going to get a guy better than him in that price range, and he's a fine third pairing defenseman. If you're replacing a guy like Cody Ceci with Dylan DeMello on Morgan Riley's pair, and you're replacing Tyson Barrie with Mikko Lehtonen, I think that really changes the dynamic of this decor. And if you watch the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs last year after a guy like Jake Muzzin went down to injury, the point should be to build depth. And this kind of lineup allows you to build depth. It pushes Justin Holl down in the lineup. You're replacing Barrie and Ceci with 2 better guys. You're retaining Travis Dermott, and you also have Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren, who you can plug in as you need them. I understand why people would want to go out there and get a big-name defenseman or the best player available. I just don't think that the problem with this roster has to do with their top-end talent. I think it has to do with the supporting cast and the depth of this team. And if you go out there and get another big name, you're going to be sacrificing from that depth and that supporting cast. But this is only one side of the argument, and I think it's only fair that I present both of them. So the next video that you can expect here on the channel is going to be arguing for the Toronto Maple Leafs going out there and getting a big name defenseman and why it's better than just doing this. Because I know a lot of you really want Alex Pietrangelo, and if that does become a realistic option for them at some point, look, we're living in a world where John Tavares came home. Why can't Pietrangelo? So make sure to look out for that video in the next couple of days, but that is going to be it for this one. So make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, as I keep saying at the end of all these videos, there are so many solutions to the problems that the Toronto Maple Leafs are facing right now.